Part 2. Stress, fear and anxiety. Stress is a subjective feeling of emotional or physical tension. It might be caused by an event or thought that makes you feel frustrated, angry or nervous. This is accompanied by a body reaction. Stress can be positive, eustress, such as when it helps you avoid danger or meet a deadline. What for one person is stress can be for another just excitement.
Therefore, it is very subjective and difficult to measure. Fear is one of the 7 universal emotions experienced by everyone around the world. Fear arises with the threat of harm, either physical, emotional, or psychological, real or imagined. While traditionally considered a negative emotion, fear actually serves an important role in keeping us safe, as it mobilizes us to cope with potential danger. The situation is perceived as a real, sometimes a life-threatening danger. The first reaction was and is fear. Fear is the reaction to a specific, observable danger, in this case COVID-19. Will I be infected? Can my loved ones be infected? How can I and we protect ourselves? Around Pentecost 2020, we all sat in our houses like the disciples in the upper room after the crucifixion of Jesus. Doors closed, don't let anyone in. The same happened with nations. Borders closed, planes, trains and so on just remained where they were. Getting ourselves and our loved ones into the bunker was what mattered most. We shut down and focused only on our survival needs: food, drink, physical security, being safe behind doors and fences. At the beginning of the lockdown, things which people shopped for most were pasta, water, toilet paper, soap, sanitizer. Afterwards, the shopping list shifted to comfort goods, chocolate, video games, Netflix, and so on. Frequently, people with chronic stress tried to manage it with unhealthy behaviors, including drinking too much or too often, gambling, overeating, not eating enough, participating compulsively in sex, shopping or internet browsing, smoking, using drugs. In an International Union Superiors General UISG webinar called Safeguarding Online in Times of Lockdown on 20th of June 2020, Father Hans Zollner, Jesuit, addressed the huge challenges which we have online. And I think perhaps these have even entered our convents. The so-called dark net, with its pornographic section, inclusive of sexual pornographic abuse of children, has multiplied and is accessed in a way it has never been before. I guess we must be aware of this, make it a topic in our conversations, and develop a discipline which is in line with our religious life. The lockdown brings to the surface tensions which were already there before. Imagine a family in a small apartment with children. The children cannot go to school. The parents cannot go to work or are in home office. All are together for months in a limited space and without their previous normal, healthy outlets. Where relationships are okay, this might be positive. Yet, where there are major conflicts or even abuse, people are stuck with each other. Husband and wife, the abuser with the abused. For some, this might have traumatic consequences. There is a steep rise in family violence and abuse, and there are no teachers or social workers or youth workers to step in. The whole situation of COVID-19 causes a lot of stress. We emotionally evaluate the situation as fearful and stressful because it is new. We haven't experienced anything like it before. We cannot understand the situation nor the virus. We cannot control it. We receive a flood of sometimes contradicting information. Fake news confuses the picture even more. Our common activities are interrupted. We lose our normal. Many lose their jobs and financial security. Social distancing can lead to a feeling of isolation. Social networks and support systems are disrupted. Our immediate reactions to stress and fear are either fight or flight. That means becoming more aggressive, irritable, or withdrawing. Some start somatizing. Time magazine interviewed some college graduates. Here are some quotations. We stepped into the world as it was starting to fall apart. You feel like a failure to launch. In a wider context, also Greta Thunberg, the young Swedish climate activist, belongs in this group. She says that the world is on fire and accuses world leaders of letting down the young generation by not doing enough for our environment. She becomes the symbol of a young generation which looks toward the future with anxiety and anger. Some of the above young people reflect a flight or withdrawal mentality, whereas Greta is clearly aggressive and fighting. Anxiety and a sense of being existentially threatened is the common denominator for both these behaviors. When anxiety becomes generalized and develops into a mental problem, it interferes with day-to-day life and life routines. Then we call it an anxiety disorder. The Mayo Clinic lists the following as symptoms of a generalized anxiety disorder: persistent worrying or anxiety about several areas that are out of proportion to the impact of the events. Overthinking plans and solutions to all possible worst-case outcomes. Perceiving situations and events as threatening, even when they aren't. Difficulty handling uncertainty. Indecisiveness and fear of making the wrong decision. inability to set aside or let go of a worry, inability to relax, feeling restless and feeling keyed up or on edge, difficulty concentrating, or the feeling that your mind goes blank. Physical signs and symptoms may include fatigue, trouble sleeping, muscle tension or muscle aches, trembling, feeling twitchy, nervousness, or being easily startled, sweating, nausea, diarrhea, or irritable bowel syndrome, irritability. Here are some reflection questions. Right now, what is most stressful for you? How was your mood during the different lockdowns or national, regional regulations? Did you notice any physical reactions? What was the effect on your community? What has helped you to deal with stress or anxiety? How can you help others to deal with stress and anxiety?